So there's a difference between guessing what's good and counting what keeps winning. So there has actually been 4 Spiritforged regional qualifiers that already happened in China. So instead of guessing what to buy, I counted what actually showed up. So in case you are new to a Riftbound, or maybe you were just living under a rock, Riftbound Spiritforged is set 2 of this game, and it was just released in the United States on February 13th. If you're watching this video today, that was a week ago. A lot of players are gearing up for the Las Vegas Regional Qualifier, which is going to be happening next weekend, while some new players are still just trying to figure out what the real staples are. As I mentioned earlier, China has already ran 4 regional qualifiers under this exact same set, same card pool, same environment. So this actually gives us something very, very important that we can look at. This actually gives us data. So what I went ahead and did is I actually uploaded all of the top 8 deck lists from the 4 regional qualifiers in China into my meta tracker. Then I actually did something very simple. Had to go through every single deck list and then count how many times each card appeared. So special shout out to Riftdeck who collected all of the deck lists from those regional qualifiers. Check their site out. I'll have a link in the description. But again, kudos for you guys and all the work you guys do. I wasn't looking at one breakout list. I was just looking at pure repetition and card count. Because when a card keeps showing up across multiple events, that usually means it's part of the core of the format, not just a 1 week spike. These are the cards that we need to keep an eye on, and as their values rise and fall, we can take advantage of that so that we can set up trades and get ultimately the cards we need for the decks we want to play. So in this video, I'm just going to show you the cards that showed up the most across the 4 regionals and what this means for the US players right now. Well, let's get into it. So let me just run through who are the top decks right now. Draven, Irelia, I would probably say those are number 1 and 2, followed by Kaisa and Annie, maybe Kaisa closer to 3. We have Ezreal, and then we have Fiora. Any of the other legends are probably going to be considered tier 2 at this point, but if you're playing any of those decks, that doesn't mean that those champions or legends can't win. It just means that looking at the China data, we see these tend to be the top decks that we're seeing and the top legends that we're seeing in these qualifiers. Take that with a grain of salt, but I just want to present the data here. Coming in at number 10, we have Last Rites. So Last Rites, it's a $30 card right now that we're looking, market price about $33, and it's purple. So I want to show you guys, we're going to see a lot of purple cards in here, and it's pretty safe to say purple is pretty busted. It's probably arguably the best color in the game, and I would say second best is probably going to be the red decks. When we're looking at this card specifically, we do see Last Rites typically ran, and different Draven builds tend to carry this. Depends on it. It's sometimes a 1 or a 2 drop of it, or sometimes I haven't seen many Draven decks that run 3 of these, but when it comes to this card, we are seeing this. We don't really see this card played much in the Irelia decks, who also run purple. And I've actually tried to look through some of the Annie decks, and you're really not really running it. Annie typically runs like the invert timelines over the Draven deck. But like I said, it just gives us an idea of what the cards we're seeing and what we're looking at. Again, Ezreal also runs purple. We don't really see this too much in Ezreal decks. We're looking at some of the other cards in those decks. Ezreal really likes Seal of Discord. Again, I think Last Rites is on there as number 10 just because of the sheer number of counts that we see in Draven make those top cuts. But moving on, Ezreal, as we said, Ezreal is actually one of the top meta decks I would consider in tier 1. Maybe might be because it's fighting for that maybe 3rd, 4th place position. But we know that the Ezreal decks run 3 of these. And we're starting to see slight rise of Ezreal at the end of the China meta. So this is actually one of the wild horses I think might be taking a big shot here at the regional qualifier in Las Vegas. I've seen a lot of people in my locals are really trying to grind out the Ezreal deck and try to get it refined. They actually think that it's actually a very, very good deck, and I won't argue with them. Like, if we look at the stats from the tournaments, Ezreal was 66 picks, with when we're looking at those regional qualifiers in China. It made the top 64 9 times, had a conversion rate of like 13%, and actually made the finals and top 2. So it can get done. It just might need a little refinement. And I think the US and the West have been playing card games longer, and you can probably, they might be able to crack this deck. It might be the best deck in the format. I don't know, but like I said, I want to see the innovation from the West. We have Bologna Regional Qualifiers this weekend, and then the following week is Las Vegas Regional Qualifiers. But Ezreal, we also know, is an expensive card. It's sitting at about a $65 market price, and you need 3 of them if you're going to be running that deck. So this is one card that we need to file. If we start seeing the rise of Ezreal, these cards can actually go up in value. Now, this is a great card to have in your trade binder. If you're not playing purple or not playing or running Ezreal deck at all, this is the one you probably want to keep your eye on, because this might be a great way to help you set up a trade to get your other cards done. All right, moving on, we're gonna go into Draven Audacious. Again, this is one of the cards that actually personally surprised me that the card price has been pretty even around that $22. I was kind of thinking it was going to fall below $22. But again, Draven, this is another card that you're seeing primarily in Irelia decks, right? The Irelia decks actually like to run this Draven. Now, it's not a 3 of in most Irelia decks that I've seen. I've seen typically run around 2. But again, look at the sheer volume of Draven decks, because everyone can agree that Draven might be the best deck in the format. And because of that, that's going to drive the prices of these cards. Unfortunately, Draven doesn't use this one. It uses the 4-cost red Draven as its chosen champion. But Irelia, since it tries to run less units, this one's not seeing that much value. But again, this could be one of these cards. Can Irelia take a regional qualifier in the West, whether it's in Bologna or in Las Vegas? This could be that signal where this card could continue to go up. So coming in at 7, obviously sticking in the theme of Irelia, we have Irelia Fervent. This is a chosen champion. Typically, she's pretty busted because anytime you choose her, you can give her 1 power this turn. So if you're playing this, the way the deck works is typically runs all those combat tricks, and those combat tricks, for example, if she's the only one defending on guard, gets +1, and then gets another +1, and then she gets a +1, and then you can Defiant Dance something, and then she gets stronger, right? It just keeps getting really, really big. I think people have coined it the Mr. President style deck, which is pretty good. And if we look at the data on Irelia, there is around, she's been picked about 238 times. She's top 64 45 times, has an 18.9% conversion rate, which is insane, which is literally the second best. And then we've seen her in the top 4 twice and hit the top 8 as well. So we know that Irelia is actually one of the top decks, maybe second best deck in the format. We'll see what the West does as it continues to innovate. Will she be number 1? We're not sure. I'm personally playing Irelia. The good thing about Irelia, she's coming at 7th place just because we're looking at, you only really run 1 of her in her deck list. And guys, if you need any of these deck lists, I'll have them in the description as well, so you can check them out as well. But keeping on the same theme of Irelia, we're moving on to the 6th one here. It's Defiant Dance. Again, someone might ask, why is Irelia, the champion unit, let higher up that list than Defiant Dance? Well, got to keep in mind that Irelia Fervent, you only run 1 of. Defiant Dance is really good. You run a playset, so 3. So the count is going to be more inside the decks, right? Or instances of that card in decks, right? So we're looking at here, Irelia Fervent is running around a $50 market price. I mean, it's a very good card, and the fact that you need 3 of is the reason why the card price is driving up higher. Because if you compare it to like Draven, who's also an epic, you realize he's cheaper. Irelia is also Fervent champion unit is also cheaper because you only need 1 or 2 of those depending on the unit. So this is why this card is just so staying sticky around that $50 price point. I don't really even see it changing much. And again, We know that Aurelia, as of right now, is the second best deck in the format, and you need 3 of this. So any single player that's running Aurelia, they want this card. So if you're going to be playing Aurelia, this is why, and you want to be a little bit more competitive, you want to win at one of your skirmishes, you may not be going to Las Vegas or Bologna, and if you are, you probably needed 3, and you probably got all 3. But this is for some of the players that are wanting to be more competitive. Aurelia is literally right now the second best deck in the format, and this is why you need 3 of these cards. This card is extremely powerful. It buffs Aurelia and allows her champion unit to also get an additional might because you chose her. It's extremely powerful. We're seeing it 10 times in the deck. Now, moving on to the 5th best card, guess what? We're in green still. We're talking about Guardian Angel. I know Guardian Angel is actually going to be one of it's a rare, but this card is running around $4.50, and looks like the market price for this one used to be a lot higher. If you're paying attention to TCG Player, guys, don't be using don't buy stuff during the pre-release because it's just going to be too expensive. So this card's sitting about $4 for a rare. I think it's a solid price point for having a card in this deck, and we know the primary deck that's going to run this is going to be the Aurelia. Again, I think I pulled like 7 of these in all the boxes that I opened and pre-release kits. I think altogether, I opened up the equivalent of 4 boxes between pre-releases plus the product I was able to purchase. This is just a great way to attach to your Aurelia or whatever units you have on your board in your Aurelia deck. And if they die, well, they won't die because this thing dies instead. I really like the price point at this, so it's a great card. And also, if you want to know about any of the cards that I talk about in this video, I also have a link in the description. It will have my TCG Player affiliate link. It doesn't cost you any more when you buy it, just helps the channel out a little. So if you use it, thank you. If you don't, well, consider try using it. Now, moving on to number 4 is the Spinning Axe. Now, this is one that actually caught me off a little off guard. I actually thought this was going to be used a lot more just because of the sheer volume of Draven decks, right? So this card right now is sitting about at a market price about $32. We're looking at the current listing at TCG Players $34. But when we started looking into a lot of the Draven deck lists, or at least I started looking at them, I did notice that some of the Draven lists did not always run a playset of them. Maybe they were running 2 to 3 of them most of the time. I've seen most decks at least run 2. My personal deck that I'm running with Draven, I am running 2. I'm not running 3 of them. So that might be a reason why the value of the card has gone down. But I also think it's related to not many people buying into the Draven card. They're really pushing the other decks like the Fioras out there, the Fioras, the Annies, the Kaisas, Aurelia, right? So I think that's part of the reason. I'm really looking forward to seeing the data from Bologna and the Las Vegas Regional Qualifiers. If we see in the West Draven take down and be in the top 8, this card I think will go up in value. Unfortunately, if you do have one, this is the time you might consider holding on to it to see how those regional qualifiers will work out, to see can you get additional trade value for the cards you actually need. Because if we see a lot of Dravens and not much of the other legends, well, all of those card values will kind of go down that. And if you're playing Aurelia, right, and you're not super competitive, like you don't expect to go to a regional qualifier like in Atlanta coming up in April, and you just want to play in your regionals, your local area, well, then this is perfect. You want to go ahead and use that card to trade. And maybe you trade bait to be like, hey, what's up? Let me do a 2, 3, 4 card deal transaction with someone to get you closer to that deck so you can enjoy the game, right? Now, moving on to number 3, Switcheroo. Now, this one, actually, I found this pretty quite interesting. And this is actually a great card. I love to see some of these cards that are rares at the highly most used, because these are very achievable cards to get. Switcheroos, the market price is $1, but you can get as low as 60 cents on TCG Player. And again, we've seen Switcheroo in Draven decks, right? I think we've seen Switcheroo in Annie decks, right? We've seen Switcheroo in, I've seen them in some of the Aurelia decks. Not all of them, but some of them, right? So it's just a robust card that allows you to typically hide it. If something's gonna come in and smack you and pimp slap your guy, you can play it hidden and boom, y'all change powers, you win, right? That's really good, right? And I personally won a couple games just playing with my friends with Draven just because of this card by himself. And there have been times where they were just afraid to attack because they saw the hidden card and they're like, what if it's switcheroo? What if it's switcheroo? What if it's not? You know what I mean? So that's what the power behind this card. And I absolutely love that this card is in third place and you can get it for less than $1. So this is awesome for the game. This is very, very good because it allows players to get access to these cards. Moving on to number 2, Draven. Draven is coming in is a rare that's coming in under $1. In my last video, we talked about if you bought Dravens during the pre-release time frame, you were paying $20. You completely overpaid and you got an L. Again, Draven is running this. He's running it in red. You typically only run one of them in most of the decks as your champion unit. Depends on how you play it, but we're seeing that that's typically used in that Draven card. Obviously, Draven, I said earlier how many times we see it in decks. You're going to see it a lot, right? Now, in terms of the other decks here, we don't see red Draven in other decks. Maybe sometimes you can see it in the an Annie deck. It's just not always. We for sure want the play sets of Kaisas. Annies will run a play set of Dravens. It just depends on how the decks are listed. They run 2 or 3. I personally think in the Annie list, you probably want a play set. But guess what? If you're playing Annie last set, or you're new and you're running into Annie list set, you can get a play set of Dravens for $3. That is a great deal. He's a very powerful card because that when he attacks or defends, you can cycle 1 red rune power, and it gives it +2. It's extremely important. It allows you to win matches. It allows you to win a showdown by holding or conquering. So it's a very, very good card. And I absolutely love to see cards like this that are very, very accessible at the top. And then coming at the very tippy top, we have the Ferris Forerunner. Again, this is $1. Market price shows $1.64, but it shows you can get as low as $1.10 in TCG Player. And again, it's red, and I think this is just an automatic include card in any red deck. So Annie runs it, Kaisa runs it, Draven runs it. It's an extremely powerful 6 rune, 6 drop, because not only the great thing about it is that not only is that you pay 6 resource and it has 6 might, when it dies, you play 3 mech units. You play 2 3 power might. 3 might units, which is still 6. So you basically get 12 might out of 6 energy and 1 power, which is extremely busted. To me, this is like borderline epic card because that's extremely powerful. All right, yeah, that's it. Those are the top 10 cards that you want to be looking for if you're going to be playing Riftbound competitively, or even semi-competitively. I pulled all of this data from the 4 regional qualifiers from the top 8 decks. So as we continue to start playing or evolve the Spiritforged meta here, I'll be using Rift deck lists and actually just the deck information themselves, so that I can start building out a meta for the United States and continue kind of have videos like this for these major events. What are the cards that suddenly started being used versus stopped being used, and how's that affecting the market? So again, thank you for Rift decks for all your hard work. I couldn't have done this video without it. But anyways, if you're new to the channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe. I'll appreciate it. But anyway, guys, see you on Tuesday. We're going to talk about the market watch after the Bologna Regional Qualifiers. See you on the next one. Peace.